Well, hello there, happily married woman. It is Dr. Siobhan Parad here, founder of Relatable, your relationship coach, helping you to develop the mindset and skills to create a marriage you love, all without having to make over your husband. So I'm trying a little bit new technology today. I hope that it works just well. Broadcasting live from my computer again. And I wanted to come on and just ask you this question. Do you have a plan B? Do you have a plan B? When it comes to your marriage and when you think about all that you envisioned for your life between you and your husband, what does it look like, right? I'm sure when you got married, you wanted this happily ever after, right? You wanted this life where you guys would be in sync and you would be communicating and you would feel all in love and everything would just be great, right? That's the promise you made when you took those vows, right? And maybe now you find yourself in a position where all of that hope and excitement and enthusiasm that you had when you first got married is no longer there. You know, maybe you're at a place where you've had so many disappointments and unmet expectations, and there's this lost connection, this lost spark. There's distance between you, you're not communicating well, and things really feel like they are, going downhill. And so, do you have a plan B? Do you have a plan B if this marriage you imagined doesn't happen the way you imagined? And the reason I ask you is because you probably do have a plan B. And it may not mean that you want to get divorced. It may not mean that you'll separate, but you have a plan B, which means in your mind, you have allowed yourself to accept some different scenario than what you originally dreamed and envisioned for your marriage. That you've made up in your mind that maybe this happily ever after isn't for you, that maybe you and your husband won't be, crazy in love till the end of time. You've given yourself permission to not achieve the marriage of your dreams because of some setbacks, some external circumstances, some mistakes, some miscommunications, some misunderstandings, whatever the case may be. You have now given yourself permission to not have a happy marriage. And it's ironic, right? Because you're part of this group called Happily Married Woman. And when I think about the purpose of this group, it's all about, creating a happily married experience for yourself. It's about being a happily married woman, which first starts in your mind. But if you've given yourself this option to not have a happy marriage, if you've given yourself this option to create a plan B, then you're never going to get there. You're never going to have that happily ever after, that happy marriage, because in your mind, you've stopped trying. You've stopped trying for it. And it's become a comfortable place for you and your husband to exist in the situation that you now find yourself. And, the reason I know that you have a plan B is because there's no sense of urgency around fixing the things that are going wrong. Like, you're not running and dropping everything to make your marriage better. You're sort of sitting on the sidelines, watching things happen, thinking about what you want to do, talking about what you want to do, reading about what you know you should do, listening to my live streams with all the actions you should probably be taking, and you're not doing anything about it. And so there's no sense of urgency, and that lack of urgency can only come when you have some other acceptable alternative that you're considering. And so you have to ask yourself, is there a lack of urgency? Do I actually have this, plan B where maybe I'll just sit and be miserable and we'll just be unhappy together, but we're not going to get divorced? Or maybe you are considering separating, and maybe you are considering divorce. If those are your options, then for sure there's no sense of urgency around fixing things because you have an out. right? The other reason I know that you have a plan B is because you have these conditions on what you will do and what you won't do to fix your marriage. So, if I were to ask you, are you willing to do everything that's required to mend the relationship with your husband? Many of you would probably say, yeah, of course, like this is important to me. I want to do whatever it takes. But when it really comes down to it, if I lay out a plan for you, if I tell you what to do, you're like, oh no. Well, I'll only do that if he does it. Or why should I have to be the one to do that? So you have all these conditions and all these circumstances for when you will do things and when you won't do things, which again is a telltale sign that you're okay not having a happy marriage, that you're okay with this plan B, again, of just sitting by the sidelines, watching things happen. You have these conditions. And so you're really not willing to do whatever it takes. And then the third way I know that you have a plan B is because you've gotten really comfortable with the state and the situation that you're in right now. It's sort of familiar to you, and it is what it is, right? If you find yourself just saying, well, it is what it is, I can't really do anything about it, can't change him, then that's a sign that you've gotten sort of complacent where you are and that you're fine not having the happiest marriage that lights you up inside. You're comfortable where you are now because maybe things have been the way they are for so long. And so those are the three ways I know that you have a plan B. And if any of that rings true, you have to ask yourself, like, why? Why is it acceptable for you not to have the marriage that you dreamed of? It shouldn't be. And if you aren't taking the action to actually do something about it, then you're creating that plan B. There's a quote that I heard once that I love to reference. It says, if you're not actively making your marriage better, you're passively allowing it to get worse. There's no in between. You're either doing things that bring you and your husband closer together and stronger as a couple, or you're doing things that bring you farther apart and weaken your bond. And so what I want you to do now, if you found this challenging, right? I'm challenging you in a sense. If you found this challenging and you're like, but I don't want to have a plan B. Like, I really do want that happily ever after. I do want that vision for my marriage that I had long ago. Now, what I want you to do is to almost like engage in a debate with me. I want you to think about why you don't have a plan B. Why having a marriage that's happy and loving and full of all the bliss and wonderful things that God created it for it to be, why there's no other option for you. Like, why you are fully committed, fully focused on realizing the happiest of marriages for you and your husband. Tell me why. Tell me why you don't have a plan B. I really want you to think about that. Why you don't have a plan B. Well, there's no other option for you. Okay? So that's what I wanted to come on and ask and challenge you to think about. Do you really have a plan B where there's no sense of urgency? You have conditions on what you will do and what you won't do, and you're comfortable in this sort of state where things aren't great. If you find that's where you are and you're okay there, then you're going to stay there. But if you find that that's where you are and you're really not okay and you're ready to take action, I would love to support you in doing that, right? That's what I'm all about, is taking action to make your marriage better without your husband having to do a complete 180. This is about you. This is about the things that are within your control, your own mindset, your own attitudes, your own actions, behaviors. All of those things are contributing to the results you're seeing in your marriage. And you've got to make a change if you want to see things be different. So if that's you, if you really are ready to make a change, I encourage you to send me a private message. I'd love to support you. I'd love to talk about creating a plan to make things different, right? A plan A, making your plan A, that original dream you had, a reality, because it is possible. So thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for obliging me with this new technology. And I look forward to seeing you in the comments with why you don't have a plan B. All right, bye for now.